I'm Akhila. I'm currently doing my postdoc, Fulbright postdoc at UCLA Dance Department and Disability Studies Department. And my work revolves around blindness and art. I look at like pedagogy, dance and performance pedagogies by blind and low vision performers. Yeah, that's my current research. And I also, I think Sanil mentioned about my Kudiatam Kathakali research. So I'll just start with my presentation. Um, okay. Like the title of this is Disability More Than Diagnosis. It's literally a crash course. And I was while I was putting together slides, I was thinking about how I make it less complex because it's 70 years of disability rights movement we are talking about, and the evolution of ideas around disability that we are referring to. So it's kind of a vast topic, and I try to make it into two major sections. I'll be talking a little bit about eugenics if I have some time after I'm done introducing different concepts around disability. Mm, yeah, like as most of you know, large portion of global population is disabled, and Indian population is 4% right now, but that I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that proportion, but yeah, this is what we are like. This is the people we are talking about, all the people who have different kind of disabilities, whether it is visible, like I'll be talking about different kind of disability, but yeah, visible or not non-visible, permanent or impermanent. Yeah, it's I think it is mostly a US thing. It is one in four adults have disability. I think India also have one in three. And this is what I'm telling you about. Like disabilities are not always visible, and it might be temporary and might be permanent, and it can be from birth, and it can be acquired from diseases, accidents, and stuff. As everyone knows this, I'm just like going to introduce you to this topic one by one, even if you know all of this. Just bear with me. How do we think, or how do we understand disability? There is a global perspective, and which we uh, consider it as like it's a mostly the global perspective comes from West, and it's all about like how globally this movement was developed, and how like who contributed to it, and what are the things which created this moment. And nationally, when we think about India, uh, I will come to the India part later in this presentation, and also culturally and socially. Yeah, all these categories we can think about how one could understand this the population, or like how do we see disability in globally. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, I heard some other sound in between. So what is what is normal, and understanding how like the normalcy work in the context of disability. It's I put out a quote there. Understanding how and why we think of something as normal is important part of understanding the disabled body. Why do we strive normalcy, and why do we think normal as the ultimate thing? And what is normal anyway? And is there a normal way to be a human? Like, think about different, like maybe think about different identities which is exist inside the human race. How do you differentiate? How do we make categories? How do we label? How do we segregate? And we like it's not only about disability, but it is very important part of understanding what disability in social context is. Let's talk about the very basic of disability studies. It is understanding models of disability studies, which is moral and religious. Moral and religious talks about how disability is created because of fate, because of not having God's, yeah, yeah, not worshipping God, or like angry, like creating some kind of like moral codes why you get disability. And tragedy mode and charity model, we don't have to talk about this because we know that thing in Kerala a lot. Like I have seen multiple events where people think about charity and tragedy model in the context of disabled people and deceased people. And medical model is, yeah, medical model is where disability is treated as something that to be cured or fixed. And it comes from World War victims, and the veterans coming back from the World War is the history of medical model. And when we and then medical model created lot of issues like a lot of elements. And we are not completely, like we are not against medical attention. We are most like we are against autonomy, which I will be talking about like later when I'm talking about eugenics and other stuff. And the social model is considering disability as a barrier. Disability is not a barrier, and the society creates that barrier is social model. That is, while model considered disability as a barrier, social model suggests that if you create more accessible atmospheres and like stairs are not um, stairs are the barrier, not disabled person who cannot climb that stairs, is the difference between medical and social. And like later ones, cultural, whether it is cultural identity, human variation. After social model, there are like understanding disability as culture, which comes from disability studies as a discourse. And identity model refers claims identity, like identity of disability, and claims and uh, do not hide it, and it's called disability as an identity, and it is seeks for that identity um, recognition. So human variation model is one of the um, recent understanding and recent discourse. And human variant model suggests that disability is a human variation and it does not have to be considered as anything other than that. and creating, like, it also refers back to social model, but that is the basic of it. What is disability studies? I don't think I want to read this again. Disability studies is a scholarship around disability, incorporating social and cultural, historical, legal, and political perspectives, including the connection between disability and other identities. And disability studies also centers around experiences of disabled people, emphasizing the role of disability community, and like acknowledging the works of disabled people, and disability, like emphasizing disability led movements, and evaluating solutions, creating access, anything that refers to medical model is also something that disability studies teaches, but that is same as, like, we just start with it, and the the construction of disability studies as a field is revolve around social model of disability. And yeah, there's like a lot of text in it, and it is also addresses different identities, different entities, and the intersectionality is one of the elements which um, disability studies stresses, because women and women being disabled and men being disabled is two different situation. There is like gender and disability associated with that identity, and it is not like, and disability studies also consider disability is not as one an identity. It is like, it is ever changing, ever evolving uh, relation to other identities. It So this poster is really important. It is where disability rights movement, at least in Western context, it started with this motto: "Nothing about us without us." Every decision about um, disability should be taken by, or people, like decision should be taken by disables, or someone in certain context. Our accessibility is our choice, and how we talk about um, what we want from a space is our choice, and it should not be forced on to us. This is, yeah, the human variation model comes from the radical disability studies, and it talks about this. I don't want to keep reading it. If you want me to keep it for a second to read it, I can do it. And as you have already read how radical disability studies questions ableism, um, this is this definition is by very famous feminist disability studies scholar, and it's a lot to process at this moment, but I want that to be there, and I want you to understand what is ableism in a place where, yeah, it is more to do with radical disability studies. And India, we are not talking about radical disability studies yet, because we are still struggling with lot, like other models of disability, which is also medical and also religious and also moral. And uh, growing up, or right now, even right now, every conversation with any people, anyone in India starts and ends with how are you going to fix this issue, and how are you going to, which temple are you going to, like which like how are you dealing with this issue? So we're not there yet, but this is, and radical disability studies is the future of disability studies. Currently, it will, like it will evolve again. It will change again, and there are people proposing pragmatic model of disability, and which is like ever evolving. But right now, this is where we are at in terms of disability movement, disability identity. This is, and it's continuing, and it is a 10 principle of disability justice, and 10 principle of disability justice. This list came from this collective called Since Invalid. Since Invalid is a performance collective, and they also provide a lot of all of these contents, and also provide courses on
Excuse me,
how
ma'am.
to.
Excuse me, ma'am. One more request because we are
Mhm.
just sitting afar from the screen here. These
Mhm.
tiny letters are not visible to us. So can you please read that
Okay,
out?
do you want me to share it with you? I can do it later after the call, after
Okay.
the talk, maybe I can. Yeah, do you want me to read it? I can do that. The
If
10
you read it,
principles
that
of
will be
disability.
too convenient.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't read it, but I think I remember it. 10 principles of disability justice is intersectionality. Intersectionality is, as I already said, that it is connecting different identities together. It will be like ableism coupled with white supremacy, caste, and gender, and yeah, all of that, and leadership on those most impacted is thinking about disability led movements, where I already mentioned some of this. It's like my choices about us to be comes from us. And anti-capitalist politics is another concept which since an invalid proposes. It's because capitalism believes in human potential of creating more, and as we don't fit into it, we are anti capitalist capitalist by default. That is what since invalids disability justice principles talk about. Um, and it is commitment to cross movement organizations, and it is shifting social justice movements, and queer justice movements, and um, Black Lives Matters, and anti-caste movement. How do we create cross movements around disability and other identities, other marginalized identities, and recognizing wholeness? Um, it is also something that is um, disability justice talks about. It is, I can't read, so I can't remember exactly what was it. I think it is, um, yeah, it is. It is also about it. People have inherent worth outside of commodity relationships and productivity, and so each person full of histories and life experiences. And sustainability, we pace ourselves, and we are in our own pace, and it is all radically looking at how disabled person want to exist in this world. and commitment to cross disability solidarity. And maybe I have blindness and other persons have like wheelchair and like different disabilities are there, and how do we cross collaborate and create a movement which is good, like which is good for inherently good for everyone. And interdependence also talks about same concept, almost similar concept, and collective access and collective liberation. Uh, I have a lot of text, so I'm going to be struggling, but yeah, there is some fun facts. I don't know how many of you know Oscar. Oscar is a Olympian, first disabled Olympian who participated in a regular Olympics, and he's a South African Olympic sprinter. And they like there was this controversy around his participation because his prosthetic leg is super efficient. It's it's some high tech something, and so like they said that like he can't participate not because he's disabled, because he has a privilege of running faster or privilege of not taking that much of effort as other athletic has to do. So they banned him, and he won a case and he participated. So people with disabilities are not uh, defined by their limitations, and rather simply living a world not built for us in a like it's not really a place where built all the access and where we can live without having to ask for uh ask for help. What is happening? Yeah. When I say I'm disabled, I don't mean help me, fix me, cure me. If I need any of that, I will say that clearly that, oh, I have a pain in my eyes. Can you treat me? Or can you help me avoid that? When I say that I'm disabled, what I really mean is that I face accessibility issues, and I wish things were structured in a way I could do things independently without needing anyone's support. My autonomy to choose is important. Let's touch upon some Indian stuff. Yeah, these are the things I hear almost every day as a disabled uh, who had a long period of blindness in like I was blind for 6 years. So, and then I'm losing my vision again. That is why I can't read the text as I like. Yeah, I can remember and talk about it, but I can't always go back and read. I'm losing my vision again soon. I don't know when. Okay. Um. So yeah, this is the conversation about Indian disability starts from, uh, and how karma, the wrongdoing in the past, or karma, or like I think everyone knows what karma is, and Ashubham, Vidhi, Danam, like exclusion and exclusion from. When I talk about exclusion, I should really talk about the performance spaces because I work on performance and the textual traditions of performance, whether it is. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Nati Shastra. Like Nati Shastra is the text which refers, which creates this umbrella term of classical in India uh, politically, but I don't think Nati Shastra does that in textually, but it's more like used in political ways right now. And Nati Shastra have like immense references on how disabled bodies are not part of, like, should not be part of it. And if they are part of it, it is to be laughed at. And it is all about Vidushaga's character, or like all these jesters and clowns. So they can be disabled. So yeah, that is where this was coming from, the the exclusion part coming from. And it is also about uh, how right now the performance spaces in India are accommodating or creating integrated dance companies. Integrated dance companies are where there will be uh, able-bodied performers and disabled-bodied performance, and they create performances together. And there are like disabled dance companies, disabled performers companies, and a lot of it, and they all create this aesthetics of able body through disabled body. And we all look at them and talk, like we like in terms of art I'm talking about. And it is also about how empowering your stories are, and how beautiful you do the performances are, rather than giving a choice of rather than just like talking about identity or any of that. It is more to do with an able body perform, like in I'm referring to one dance company which is called Ability Unlimited. Ability Unlimited train their dancers rigorously, grueling training. And all the Indian dance forms are like in terms of training, it is really grueling in a lot of ways. But disabled bodies does not have the, like, the first one of the first thing is my choice of moving, and that is not addressed. And it is always about how perfect you should be, and how normal you should be you should be in on stage with your disability. And when we talk about Indian context, this has a acts, and I'm not going to referring or talking about this stuff, but I just want you to have that. 1990 is the first, like the disability ADA, Americans with Disability Act, came in. And this is 1995, we have one. And you can see the vocabulary around uh, disability is also changing. And right now, the current scenario, we have now, I don't know how many of you know, but disables are not called Vikalang anymore. It's Divyang. And all the railway stations and train stations, you can see Divyang as a board. And it had raised a lot of questions around what divinity is, and is it how do we negotiate that stuff when we don't have enough policies, enough access, enough anything. Giving us a divine status does not do anything. Even if we have everything, I don't think any of us want to associate with divinity without disability. Yeah. Um, what is the time? I don't know. Yeah. Do we have like some time to talk about eugenics also? I don't know. I think. It's like, yeah, I will just go through different stuffs altogether and stop it. Eugenics has been studied under disability studies for a longer time. I'm not like, until now, whatever I talked about, I had like pretty good faith in it. But this is something I always read, but this is not something that I work on. But yeah, this is because I thought I'm talking to doctors. I should uh, give them some context about how, like, what all disability studies do with this materials. Yeah. Do you? I think I can. I think I remember what I wrote. In late 1800s, Francis Galton, a half cousin of Charles Darwin, began studying the families of families of some of history's greatest thinkers, and he concluded that genius was hereditary, and he invented a new word combining the Greek for good and genes, and launched a movement calling society to take affirmation step promote more suitable races or strains of blood. I'm not going into all the slides, but I can share the slides later if you want. I have like a lot of slides on eugenics because I teach disability studies at UCLA, so this is one of my eugenics slides. Echoing famous, like, and yeah, it is. Francis Galton also says, like, what nature does blindly, slowly, and ruthlessly, man can do it providently, quickly. So, government, like, yeah, referring back to all these figures and their contribution to um, genetics and genetic studies and stuff. They have come out with a lot of policies and migration policies and immigration policies, and it's a never-ending thing. Even now, um, sterilizations and a lot of things. Essential questions: when did it begin, and did it ever end? I don't think we ever ended it. So I'm uh, yeah, this is medical model in a it's I think I told already talked to you about medical model. Its problems. The problem with medical model is the decision makers, and it is also a dominating model where medical practitioners or relatives in that case has the word on disabled body and how it should be treated and how it should be understood and how it should be addressed. Rosemary Garland Thompson is one of the bioethics. I'll be sharing her articles. So she states that it is an utopian effort to improve the social order and practical health program or social justice initiative that's simply common sense to people. I think mm, I think I will end it here so we can have more time to discuss and I can talk more on when you have some questions.
Thank you for the presentation. And I saw that there is a proposal uh, to call them what divine bodied instead of Divyang instead of Vigalang. So
No, no,
yeah, my point is that
there's no
it's
proposal.
also like telling or marginalizing them as not normal, like by glorifying them. It's like calling nurses angels and denying their basic rights and all. So
Yeah.
I would like to know your take on that, your stand on that.
The
Call them
divine bodied.
divine
Is that the
bodies instead of trying to improve their basic like
yeah? That is what I said.
life conditions.
Yeah. So there's no other take. It is like it's all about I've like the moment I heard this, I was like, okay, now you don't have to get like we make fun of it among disabled communities in India. We make fun of it, saying, you know, as gods, we don't need anything. It's just like everything is there for gods, and it is like you don't have to provide anything for gods. So making us gods is a way to avoid creating new policies, creating a new way of like access and creating any inclusive atmospheres. And yeah, there's no other take. It is I completely go against the idea of calling me a divine bodied if given a chance. And I'm like, of course, when we talk about the vocabulary, we are not equipped to address disabled people yet, because Vigalang is also like it is literally social model of disability. When it was evolving, it was addressing impairment, and it's like a physically impaired is a category. And now nobody used that in, at least in the context of disability studies. And I have seen people talking about it in a very common way, but none of the people who are disabled understand it as an impairment. There will be people, but I'm talking about informed people who are informed by this knowledge. We won't consider ourselves as impaired. So I don't call it, I like, yeah, and it's like we should physically impaired or handicapped. Vigalang is more translation to handicapped. And I don't think we are like think about Malayalam words which refers to different kind of disabilities. Hottakannan. To like Hottakannan, modern than all the categories of the school. And if you take any, I don't know how many of you know Malayalam, but I'm just talking about Malayalam words as a starter. I don't think we are equipped to understand disability studies with our vocabularies, but we will get there one day.
Hi, ma'am. I just had
Mhm.
a question. How exactly does disability continue to inform your engagement with performance? You mentioned that you are a
Mhm.
performer and you've been
Mhm.
you've had issues with your vision, right? So how
Mhm.
first of all, could you talk about your research? As I understand it, it's about performance studies. And how has
Mhm.
your own disability informed your research and your experience with performance and performance arts in general?
Uh, like okay, I have like I think my disability and my informations on disability studies as a field had informed like a lot, like or influenced a lot how I think about performances I watch and performances that I understand. And I'm trained in Kathakali, but I don't do it right now. Uh, I did work on, because like one of my research, like you asked me about my research, if that is the conversation. My current research is on blind dance pedagogies or blind performance pedagogies. If you're talking about Kathakali Kudiyatam research, I worked on pain, performing pain as my methodology, and I looked at how these characters perform pain. And that is also like informed by like how do we see these performances with a lens of traditional knowledge. Because I like one of my argument is Kathakali's performance of mutilated Shurpanakha is mutilated Shurpanakha is informed by Indian traditional um, medical knowledge, which is like marma. I'm talking about marma as a mode of understanding, and how they portray her, and how her depiction represent this is one of my argument. But yeah, of course, like my entire research, and I do work with intersectionality, but I call it as staging of relationalities of gender, caste, and disability is my research. So it is, and as a performer, if you ask me, I don't think I went back to the performance. Like I did train, but I never thought of performing it after that. And I was also like, I always feels that um it's really rigorous for, like, maybe I'm lazy. That is also another way of looking at it. I never thought back, went back, and I continued training in Kathakali, but I never performed it after that. I think it is to, uh, I think I did not do anything with the performance part of it, but right now I do a lot of audio descriptions and creating access for blind audience, and audio description as a creative pedagogy, and touch as a pedagogy, and using other sensory modality to teach and understand dance, understand art. This is my current research, so it is not only informed by disability, like my disability, it is also like taking my agency as a disabled to create something for my community.
So we have one discussion about calling disabled people as Divyangjan, which is on Indian context. But I think in the Western context, we call them differently abled. So
Yeah.
I have two queries. Yeah. So what is your take on that? Because you already proclaimed that you don't like to be called as Divyangjan. So what if in the Western context will that be more suitable? And second thing, what about the facilities for these disabled people at Western countries? Because in India, situations are in a transition stage only. Many places are
Mhm.
not disabled friendly. So these two queries that
Mhm.
I have.
Okay. Nobody calls anybody differently abled anymore in Western context. At least people who know what disability studies are, and disability studies proposes disability as a positive category. So we don't call ourselves differently abled. And in India, in English, people try to address disabled people as differently able, but disable is the preferable word among disability studies scholars, and among disability communities. And considering disability as a positive category, and like something that we have to assert and claim. And so, yeah, that is the answer to your first question, I think. And about the facilities in US, if in Western countries, when I'm talking about Western countries, I have been to different Western countries, but I'll start with US. US does have um, slightly better understanding than India, but um, in terms of facilities, you get like a lot of accessibility stuff. Like I use screen reader for my computer. That is why I couldn't read the text, and it is difficult for me to see the text in the screen, and I need screen reader to use it. and I use screen reader back in India too. There are like things which is evolving, like getting better in India. Here, in terms of facilities, there are like a lot of facilities giving audio books, all the uh, all like entire course files will be available in uh, audio. You can download audio files on you can request for screen reader if you have reading disabilities. And other than what they call it as grandfather's den, which is like an old building which we cannot have, we cannot create live. Otherwise, all the buildings is necessary to have, like it's legally necessary to have um lived. All the like ADA is really like uh, it's far better than our 2016 disability law. But attitude wise, if you like attitude wise, I don't think I felt that different here, because I have like if I use cane, or if I say that I can't see, if I need access, and when I talk about it, like I have seen people saying praise the Lord to me. So I don't think it is that different attitude wise, but the policy wise, yes, it is better in US, but it's not the case in Germany. It is not the case in France, and it is slightly better in UK, but uh, yeah, Germany and France are two, like, I think it's worse than India, and the attitude wise. And sometimes I had this conversation with another blind person from India, and we were waiting for here in US, both were waiting for assistance. And he said to me that, things getting done is the thing we seek for. If that is the case, India is better, because here everything is really slow. And like technology, yes, if you need an person to support you, and there is no that community consciousness here. And so it is very difficult to navigate through a place if you don't know that place, and if you are disabled, because people are trained not to ask you whether you want help. So that is something they always talk about it as a positive thing. They say that it is important to not ask, and I understand why they say that. But in terms of sometimes when you need access, it is really difficult to navigate. But technology policy, yes, it is better. And okay, an additional thing. UNCRPD, United Nations People with Disability Act, is not signed by US, but signed by most of Asian countries. The Accessibility India campaign comes out of UNCRPD. So it talks about giving access and providing access universally to all the countries. Most of the Asian countries, I'm not talking about South Asian countries, most of the Asian countries, that includes everything like Vietnam to everything, Southeast Asia, South Asia. I don't know West Asia, but the East Asia also is like signed. I don't know anything about West Asia. So, but US did not sign it. So eventually, social stigma still exists. I have friends from East Asian countries like China and Japan. What their narrative is, like all the buildings and public transportations are accessible, and like it's everything perfectly accessible, but people are not out because stigma around disability is so much so that they, even with a lot of access, people are not coming out. But in Indian situation, it is, I think, yeah, when we create more access, people are out. I think it's a good sign. Hi.
You have worked on pain performances on stage and the way people respond to pain on stage, right?
Huh?
So, how do you see pain in real life and the way people respond to pain?
Uh-huh.
Because many of us here are people who breathe pain and listen to pain and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do we link?
Okay.
Is there anything which we can connect them?
Yeah. And when we talk about pain and disability is, it has really complex relationship because I was reading this book by someone called Susan Ventale, and she talks about how disability studies, because disability studies, uh, how they avoid confronting people with severe pain conditions because it does not fit with the narrative. But yeah, in terms of pain, I think I have observed performing pain in, like, I don't think it is not, I think it's not real pains I looked at, but also I looked at real pain in terms of ritual where self-mutilation and um, sacrifices and things happen, how this pain is associating and how we perceive pain and how a state, like in terms of Kerala, I feel that we are like obsessed with watching pain and obsessed with watching um, death or violence in that way. I don't know that, like, I can't be telling. I don't know. I don't have an answer to why in that way, but I think we are like, I think we had discussed this in different contexts. My answer to that is, I think it is because we don't have that cultural memory of war and cultural memory of um, losing and other stuff, like other like cultural memory which North Indians have or other part of India has in terms of Indians' war memories and Indians' colonization memories and stuff. So I think that this is our way to deal with our not having all of that is one of my assumption. I think Sanil also agreed to it in a way. And what is the connection between performing pain and real pain? I think people's response to pain is complicated. And here, if you ask me, here, people don't respond to pain. People are afraid to respond to pain because here the law says that like, if you touch someone without permission and like ask, like there are like times where in pain you are not in a position where you can give permission or not give permissions. So, and people don't respond to pain here socially. And medically, yes, medically people like respond to pain. I don't think, but in India, responding to pain is I don't have. I think it is more to do with culturally. We are like people. I have seen while responding to pain, people cry in other people's pain, and I have seen um, people try to not be there because they can't take that pain, and in terms of pain while dying is another way, like another place where people keep themselves away from that situations. Here, it's more like even if you are uh, in pain and if you're like rolling on a floor with your like intense pain, people might not come and respond to you. I don't know whether it is answering your question as Sunil, but yeah, this is what my experience with responding to pain. I have I have friends who are uh, chronical illness and pain and who are disabled and who are performers too, and they like I have this roommate in one of my summer in the dance intensive I went to. Her name is Heather. Heather like talks about her pain as uh, like she'll be like, oh, I have 9 right now, but I'm always in between 5 to 7, which is like a amount of pain she's suffering every moment is uh, 5 to 7, and when she get really worse, she's like, I can't move, but she dances. She dances in her like chair, and she dances in her bed, and like how people respond to. And there are like I have like a lot of um colleagues or people from disabled community I know who goes through intense amount of pain and creates art out of that pain.
My question was, when people are observing this performance of pain, like as you said, there was mutilation of um, Shorpanaga, was it? Yeah.
Mhm.
So when people see that pain enacted on a stage, are they able to kind of see their own pain in that? Even though they were not mutilated, they went through some other pain. And will there be some sort of a healing process occurring at that for that person?
Are you talking about catharsis in that way? I know. I don't think Indian context we have that concept of catharsis. If you are talking about it, otherwise also like I will respond to it. I think when it's important who is watching this pain, and most of this performances we are talking about, it was at least right now it is different, but historically it has been a space upper caste men lives or like experience this performances. So I don't think they associate with Shurpanakha's pain. I don't think they associate with Shurpanakha's pain is my like one. So yeah, I don't think they associate with Shurpanakha's pain, and of course, um, I have read like as we like right now there are like a lot of people who are working on, including me, working on gender narratives of Shurpanakha and like how Shurpanakha's mutilation was like is a sanctioned violence and how it is a mutilating a woman and mutilating I don't know whether you are like familiar with this concept called nakatna. It's like um cutting your nose is uh humiliating you, and it does not create death, and it means permanent punishment, and a lot of narratives around Shurpanakha, but I don't think people feel her pain while watching it. I have asked performers whether what they go through while performing her pain. Uh, if if that is the question, then I have little more uh, clear answers to it, and that is also like people in Kudiyatam. I don't know. Yeah, in Kudiyatam they have a ritual called Uppuvela. It is to get rid of this, not the same affect of performing Shurpanakha, and it is observed for 3 days, and it is more to do with like avoiding salt and not going to any ritual spaces. It is similar to the pula or pela, which we say, and it is observed for 3 days to get rid of the affect which created to their body by performing Shurpanakha's mutilated character. And I have asked people why is it important to have that ritual, and their answer is it is it is more to do with taking Rakshasi's blood in their body, and it is also to do with it creates a lot of um, trauma, not trauma in a they don't use the word trauma. Like I think they create like vikshobha. The vikshobha is the word they say. It creates a lot of vikshobha in them. So it's avoiding that and getting enough rest is the idea behind Upapela. But watching, I don't think there is. For me, I have watched Shurpanakha's Nenam from the age of maybe 8. I never felt that. I never felt her pain. And until when I started like looking at her from a research point of view, and I'm like, okay, there is performance of pain, and there is like, but I still I don't think I feel her pain. I associate with her mutilation and pain politically maybe, but I don't think Kudiyatam or Kathakali cre- uh, creates that kind of effect in performers while watching the mutilation of this character, of death of any characters. I don't think that is something. Maybe there are like people who have different opinions. I have like one performer, Suraj, had mentioned that it is Suraj Nambiar is a Kudiyatam performer. Suraj had mentioned that while performing Shurpanakha, he performs pain. Other than that, nobody had mentioned about performing pain also. So I read from her performance rather than the words from performers. Yeah, with audience, I never felt it, and I don't know whether anyone felt it. I don't have that answer other than what I can only talk about what I felt or I feel when I watch Shupraka's mutilation.
So thank you for
One,
sharing this time with us.
thank you for inviting, and thank you for the questions.